Hello folks, welcome back. This is Mystic Games. So we've been doing a lot of gameplay videos and I wanted to just take a step back because part of the things I like to do on my channel are tier lists. We're not doing tier lists today though. I'm using the tier list to talk about, you guys can see it on my screen. I'm going to be looking at my little notepad here as I talk to you guys. I wrote down some stuff. So this video is going to be about ideas for the war chiefs in the game of Northgard and abilities that they could have that would make the game a little bit more enjoyable. So I think one of the big things from this game that I would like to see in the future would be adding some sort of cooldown based ability that your war chief automatically gets. A lot of war chiefs will end up, as they rank up in fame, they get some sort of ability or something, or they have some sort of passive that does something like the wolf can take zones, Brand or the stag leader can at fame 1,000 like rally his forces and gain an attack speed bonus to everybody. But all these things are not inherent. They don't just have an ability. I feel like all war chiefs should have an inherent ability. Now if you want to scale said ability to make it stronger as the game goes out, like maybe make it based on 200 fame, 500 fame, and then like 1,000 fame, I have no issue with that. But I think that every war chief should have an inherent like combat ability that makes them unique in some way. I mean, obviously it doesn't have to be super unique, but does something that makes them like, okay, this guy can charge into battle. So what we're going to do is we're going to take each one. I'm just going to put them on the list as I talk about them. There's no rank here, but we're going to start with Stag. So for anyone who's just intrigued with my ideas about how I'd make this work, you can listen. For anyone that's not interested, this is not like something that's guaranteed to happen. Hopefully Shiro Games watches my videos at some point and considers doing this though. So for Stag we have what I would call Antler Ram. So the character would be, or we'll just say Brand because that's their war chief. He would essentially have like a ability that he could click that would cause him to charge forward, whether you make it a line or you make it a targeted thing where he charges into an enemy. All enemies that get hit by either in the line or get hit by the charge that are in line with it would be damaged and then slowed. So essentially Brand would charge forward, hit the enemy, anyone nearby would take damage as well, maybe less damage than the initial target, but they would be slowed for like 3 seconds, right? And this would have like a, probably a month cooldown, all these abilities. So that would be like the Stag's ability. He charges forward, it's thematic, like he's ramming somebody with his horns, and then whoever he hits gets slowed and everybody around him gets slowed as well, maybe a little bit of damage. So I was thinking for Goat. Goat tends to be a support type clan, right? They're not really known for combat, so I was like, what would be something cool that their war chief could do? So for Goat, I was like, maybe you do something like a shield wall where his ability is that he reduces damage and he gains regen for himself. So essentially he takes reduced damage and then he gets like a certain amount of life regen. We'll just say maybe 20%, right? Just for a number, right? And then he reduces damage by 20%, right? Maybe that's his ability. What he would do as well would be he would reduce damage to allies by 10% and then regen their health by 10% of their maximum health as well. That would be kind of like his ability. So he would gain, like, himself would be armored and he'd gain a small life regen, and then his army could also benefit. Something like that would be interesting for them. As a support clan, it would make sense that the allies and the armies gain the buff as well, but they probably would gain like a 50% of the buff. For Wolf, which I've always thought about this, I think I've mentioned this in my past video, their leader, like their war chief, is a berserker, essentially, which is a warrior that gets, he just goes nuts in combat, essentially. So my thought for the berserker would be maybe he gains attack speed and lifesteal whenever he attacks. So you click the button, and while he's fighting, he would end up attacking quicker, and he would gain lifesteal as well. this should ramp up, so it should be like stacks. We'll just say, just for a number, I'm going to throw out there 5%, right? He hits the first time, he gains 5% more attack speed. Hits again, gains another 5%, so now he's at 10. And then he's at 10% lifesteal, 15%, and then 15% lifesteal. I think that would be a really cool thing, maybe up to like 25%, you know, attack speed and lifesteal or something, for whatever he's targeting. It would make him just essentially deal a ton of damage very quickly, and he would also be able to kind of maintain himself for a little bit, which is good for like a berserker. I think it would suit the clan well for that kind of ability. Each ability I'm kind of writing up has to do something with like what I think the clan does. So for Raven, I had a hard time with them because they are crowns, and initially I was like, you could do something with like summoning mercenaries. The issue with summoning anything is anything that gets summoned, I don't think it should be targetable. For the most part, and I'll talk about that a little bit later because there is one that I did that I think would be interesting for the clan, but that they would be targetable. But for the most part, I wouldn't want the leaders to be able to summon additional units because you know, these abilities by themselves are going to make it easier for them to clear zones and stuff in the beginning of the game. So I wouldn't want to make it so they summon targets that can essentially tank for them or anything like that. So my initial thought was something to do with mercenaries, but I'm like, that won't work because then you could, you know, use the ability, have those things tank the wolves or the foxes or whatever, and then, you know, they disappear after how many ever the time frame is, and then your war chief's fine and you clear the zone. So I wouldn't want to do anything like that because it would give an unfair advantage to non-summoners. So for the Raven, I was thinking something with like an axe. Maybe she throws her axe around herself and it does damage to everybody around her for a short duration. Essentially like a 360 axe just circling the Raven would be an interesting move. So for Bear, they're all about winter. So I was like, obviously you'd want to do something with like a frost. So simply for the Bear, I was thinking maybe the War Chief slows and freezes enemies around herself. It would probably do a small amount of damage, and then it would slow their attack and move speed. And then maybe after a certain amount of like time around her, like if they stay for 5 seconds, they gain a stack a second or something. And it would freeze them at the end for like a second as well. So not only would it slow down their attack speed and their movement speed, but at the end it would freeze. You would have to obviously try to balance that. But again, these moves don't have to be used in PvP. Like, they could always just make these for Conquest or make these for other modes that are, you know, PvE or, you know, friends playing against PvE as well. Boar would be cool to have, because they're supposed to be like the lore clan. That's what I always call them. I don't think they are, but they are supposed to be. It'd be cool if they summoned down like a lightning strike, and then it essentially did like an AoE blast in an area. I think that would be a pretty neat move. Like you just you know, click on the map and it shoots down a lightning bolt, and it like hits the ground and does some damage or something. I think that'd be a cool one. And then for Snake, you would do like a poison bomb or like a oh my god, I'm blanking on the name. I didn't write it down. We'll just call it poison bomb. But I was also thinking about like a oh my god, where it puts out a smoke bomb, so you can't see them because they're based on stealth as well. So I did like poison bomb. They throw a bomb down in an area, so you pick an area, you know, you click on it, you throw it down. Everything in the area would become poisoned, which would reduce its movement and attack speed. And then enemies entering the poison bomb would gain additional dodge, because that's their other big thing. So maybe you make another 5% or 10% dodge when the bomb's down if they're within the bomb area. I thought that would be neat. And then we have Dragon. Dragon was a pretty easy one for me to consider. Dragon would be a breath of fire, so an AoE cone that comes from the War Chief. He shoots it out in front. You could either make it do massive damage, or you could make it burn the enemy as well. Both would work. For Horse, they are builders, so I thought what would be cool for Horse? Maybe Horse builds some sort of turret. Now the turret would not be attackable. It would have a time frame, so you would drop the turret would last 10 seconds, and the turret would shoot arrows at your enemies. And the unique thing about the horse is you have 2 war chiefs, so maybe you do, they each drop a turret, as long as they're in the same zone, or you have to click both, to drop the turret, and they will fire arrows at the target for how many ever seconds, dealing extra damage. This would not be like an AoE attack. It would be a single target. It would probably not be a super fast attack. We're probably talking 1 to 2 seconds per, arrow coming out, especially because you have 2. And wide, in big battles, it wouldn't be as useful as some of the others, but in smaller battles, it would be very helpful because it'd be, focus firing targets down. And I think it'd just be cool to have a couple non-destroyable turrets that go up for like 15 seconds and then they break. Next we have Kraken. Kraken is the water-based clan. You would send out a wave. So my thought with them would be they fire out a wave of water. The water goes ahead. Everything it hits would knock back the target and deal damage. So it would be kind of like a control. Then we have Ox. He's already a bruiser. He does like an AoE slam and stuff with gear. So my thought with him would be Shockwave. Essentially, he does like a shockwave in front of him. He like pounds the ground. And it wouldn't be like a huge thing, it would probably only go a few feet in front of him. It would probably be bigger than like the Dragon's Breath cone, because that would be like more of an open, wide spread attack, whereas the Ox would be very focused in front of them, and it would go in front and it would deal damage, knocking them to the side and temporarily slowing them. And when I say slowing, I probably wouldn't do attack speed slowing, but I would do like movement speed slowing. So essentially, you knock them out of formation, and then you can attack them. Lynx is an interesting clan because Lynx war chief is a pretty much blind old lady. It's a blind old cat lady. She already has cats, so my thought was summon a celestial beast from the sky. It would pretty much summon down like a star. Hits the ground, does some damage, probably less than like the lightning strike would do, but then it would summon a ethereal like cat, kind of like, the best thing I can think of is anyone who's a big fan of World of Warcraft knows about the spectral tiger mount. It's like legendary. So just think about that. So you shoot down like a star, essentially hits the ground, does some damage, and then it turns into a celestial cat that you cannot target, but will eventually just disappear after a certain amount of time. So you get a little bit of AoE damage, and then you have a summonable, controllable beast that you can actually target things, but then it would go away and vanish. And if your war chief left the zone for the immortal tiger, it would disappear. Like, it would only work in the territory you're fighting in. For the squirrel, they are food-based, and they are a support clan. So I thought what would be pretty funny and cool with them is the war chief kind of throws food. When he clicks his button, you wouldn't even target, it would just throw food out randomly in a pattern around him probably. And any of your allies touch him would gain instant health. Instead of like a regen, they would instantly heal. And then it would give them a small bonus to like attack speed and maybe a small bonus to defense. And you could also do something crazy where if the enemy touches it, it does something to them, like poisons them, like it's bad food or something like that. There's a couple things you could do with the squirrel that I think would make it really funny and cool and thematic. Most of these I've been trying to make thematic as possible to fit with each clan. So, for the rat clan, the war chief already has a talent that they can get where, or a lore choice they can get where she sacrifices like 50% of her health and then heals her allies in the zone. So I was like, it'd be really cool if she had a siphon health ability. So essentially, the war chief would drain health from all nearby enemies and then heal herself. So it'd be like an AoE damaging, siphoning health thing that does percentage damage over time and heals her. So maybe it deals 5% damage to everything around her for 5 seconds, we'll just say. So it's 25% total health of enemy targets. And it would heal her for 25% of the, the health that she gets. So essentially, if she has 2 targets, it'd be 5 plus 5 of whatever their health is, and she would gain it back. I think that would be a fun ability to do. You might have to cap something like that, obviously, because if she turns it on, there's more than, maybe you can only do up to 3 units at a time, and it targets the highest health units or something. But you would have to obviously cap that ability. There'd be no way to just let it hit everything, because it would become insane late game and she would just be immortal. You'd have to burn her before she can actually heal, or you'd have to stay out of the siphon range, so like axe throwers and stuff, you'd have to play around it too much. But what I'm saying is it would be a really cool ability to gain some sort of siphon life. So next we're going to talk Eagle. Eagle, she has like a lore ability that gives her a blind on attack. I thought, simple enough, have her throw her spear, and when it slams into the ground or hits the target or whatever, it would blind the target for a certain amount of time and deal damage. Very simple one, but I thought that was a cool idea. You could also summon, like, eagles down and have them attack your enemies, causing them to become blind. That would, like, the whole territory or something. That would be interesting as well, dealing a small amount of damage. But there's a couple ideas with the Eagle clan. So now we're going to talk about the Tiger. We're going to go down to 8. We're going to go up to A tier here just because I want to keep nice and focused instead of having the list become bigger and bigger. For Lion, I was thinking maybe the hero turns golden, gains increased attack damage, and gains armor, and that would be her ability. And maybe she does like an AoE slash when she's in that form. That could be pretty cool for a certain amount of duration. For the Stoat, I had summons Peasant Militia. They would actually have health in this one. So you would summon like 3 Peasant Militia, and for each Peasant Militia that stays alive during the duration, you would gain armor and increased health regen. So we'll just say you regen 15% of your health every second. That's probably too much of a number. We'll say 9%, right? So each one is providing a 3% to your regen, and then maybe each one provides +2 armor or +1 armor or something. So every time one would fall or perish in combat, whatever their duration is, you would lose that bonus. So the bonus would probably be higher than something like the Lions, where you get a permanent attack and armor increase for the duration, because this one would be you'd be able to remove it by destroying the Peasant Militia, which wouldn't be super. I'd make them somewhat fragile, like they wouldn't be super strong or anything. And then you gain armor and health immediately, like full benefits, but as soon as a couple of them get wiped out, the benefits go away. And it fits very well with the theme of being the Lord of Lords for the Stoat hero. I think it would be really cool. So the final 2 are Owl and Hound. You guys leave them down in the comments below what you guys think they could do. The issue with Hound is that they have 4 different, essentially, heroes. Because each of their... It depends what animal form you take. And the Owl, I couldn't really think of anything. I mean, they're very lore-heavy and interesting, but I wasn't sure what to do there. So tell me in the comments below what you guys would want to see for like abilities, whether it be on Owl and the Hound, or any of them, to be honest. I think that would make combat a little more interesting, and it would make each of the clans a little bit more unique to have some sort of combat ability on each of their war chiefs. Obviously, balancing all this would be a lot harder for Shiro, because not everything would be equal, and therefore you would have to play around stat-wise, like how strong can each thing be. But I do think eventually, with one ability for each of the war chiefs, that you probably could balance them over time, and you can make them still unique and interesting without making them too broken. So, anyways, tell me what you guys think about this idea. This is something a little bit different. I wanted to take a break from doing some gameplay videos and do some more like theory crafting or something cool that could be added to the game that wouldn't be a completely new thing, but would be a new enough feature that it would make the game more interesting. I think one of my favorite games of all time is Warcraft 3 for RTS, and one of my favorite things is the heroes. Being able to build up a hero and have different abilities and stuff. I don't think Shiro should go anywhere in that direction, because that's a ton of balancing to do just there. But I think this would add enough of a variance each time you play a clan, that your army would feel a little bit different because your war chief would offer a little bit of a different bonus. Anyways, again, tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I appreciate all the support. I've been getting a lot of love from the community in general, from a lot of my different videos saying, you know, I hope you get bigger, and I think you'll make, you know, be a great content creator. And I really appreciate those kind gestures for everybody saying those things. You guys have a wonderful day. It's an absolute pleasure to bring you videos, so I'll see you guys soon. Later, guys.